Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we are tackling something pretty massive, so we're going to take a slow, deliberate journey into a truly fascinating topic. We are exploring Hinduism's incredibly vast cosmic worldview. And specifically, we're going to look at how that massive, almost incomprehensible worldview directly connects to a profoundly tolerant attitude toward religious diversity. We are going to unpack one very specific central argument today. What does the famous many paths to the same summit idea actually mean? And why exactly does Hinduism look at completely different religions not as hostile competitors, but as genuine, valid paths to the exact same infinite goal? It is a beautiful concept. It really challenges how we think about faith, about culture, and honestly, about each other. So we're going to explore it step by step from the ground up.
Let's start right here with this incredible quote. Truth is one, sages call it by different names. Just think about that for a second. This simple but incredibly profound sentence comes from the ancient Vedas, and it really sets a deep, contemplative tone for our entire explainer today. It's essentially the absolute cornerstone of how Hinduism has historically embraced the multitude of human faiths. It tells us right off the bat that the ultimate reality isn't fractured, it isn't divided, only our human descriptions of it are. So keep this ancient wisdom in the back of your mind as we begin to really build the argument for this kind of absolute religious tolerance.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, a vast training ground. Second, Maya and cosmic play. Third, paths to the same summit. And finally, one mystic, many religions.
Section 1. A vast training ground. The scale of Hindu cosmology. To really understand Hindu tolerance, you first have to deeply understand the Hindu sense of scale. You've got to picture the universe not as a singular creation with a definitive hard beginning and a definitive end. Instead, view it as a giant cosmic accordion. It oscillates eternally. It swells out into physical existence, and then it slowly draws right back into pure, unmanifested potentiality. The time frame we are talking about here is almost impossible for the human mind to grasp, but the sources give us this absolutely brilliant metaphor to help us conceptualize it. Imagine the Himalayas. Now, imagine they are made entirely of solid granite. Got it? Now imagine that just once, every 1,000 years, a single bird flies over them, and it has a soft silk scarf in its beak, and it just barely brushes the towering peaks with that soft scarf. By the time that unimaginably slow process finally wears the entire mountain range away into dust, only one day of a single cosmic cycle will have elapsed. When you view reality on this staggering scale, human urgency, our anxiety, and our rigid dogmatism really begin to look a little bit misplaced, don't they?
Now, what's really interesting is how this inconceivably vast universe actually functions for us humans. This world we currently inhabit is considered a middling world. It hangs perfectly midway between the heavens and the hells, and it is entirely composed of roughly equal parts good and evil, pleasure and pain, profound knowledge and deep ignorance. And crucially, it is deliberately meant to be this way. It is not some broken utopia that's just waiting to be perfectly fixed. It is specifically designed as a school. It is literally a training field for the soul. The sources actually compare it to a cosmic bowling alley. Rolling the heavy ball down the lane builds your spiritual muscles and develops your character. But you don't permanently deposit the bowling balls at the end of the lane. They roll right back to you, over and over, until you master the game. The world is meant to develop us, to prepare us to eventually look entirely beyond it.
Section 2. Maya and cosmic play. The illusion of the many.
If you compare the dual and non-dual perspectives within Hinduism, we see a really fascinating split. The dualists see God, individual human souls, and the natural world as distinctly real, separate beings. But the non-dualist perspective argues something truly mind-bending. They argue that in a state of supreme, heightened consciousness, which is the exact state that advanced yogis strive for, the entire multiplicity of the world completely vanishes. All the separate objects, the distinct religions, the different people, all of it dissolves into one single, undivided, absolute reality, literally like a boundless, completely calm ocean.
So if reality is actually just one undivided ocean, what is all this stuff around us? The trees, the buildings, our incredibly diverse cultures. This is where the profound concept of Maya comes in. It is often lazily translated in the West simply as illusion, but honestly that's not quite right. It's much better understood as a provisional reality. The world's multiplicity passes itself off as being independently real. Think of a young child watching a movie in a theater for the very first time. The roaring lion on the screen feels entirely real to them. I mean, it is terrifyingly real, right up until the lights come on and they turn around and spot the projector booth coming in the back of the theater. Maya is the movie. It is a conditioned reality, projected by our own perceptual mechanisms. It is completely real while you're sitting in the theater, but it's not the ultimate truth.
So, if Maya is the trick of perception, the projector in the back of the theater, then Leela explains the why. Why does this vast projection even exist in the first place? Well, the answer is Leela, God's cosmic play. It is a spontaneous, joyful overflow of creative, imaginative energy. It's the endless, untiring cosmic dance of the divine. Think of a child playing a game of hide-and-seek. They deliberately put themselves in a state of not knowing exactly where their friends are, entirely for the sheer joy of the game. The universe is essentially a glorious game of hide-and-seek, where the one ultimate reality hides itself in the magnificent multiplicity of the world.
So, the crucial point we really have to arrive at is this. If the universe's sheer variety and multiplicity is just a provisional projection, a cosmic game of hide-and-seek played by one single divine reality, how does this metaphysical framework dictate Hinduism's attitude toward other faiths? If truth is ultimately one, why are there so many different religions out there claiming to have the truth?
Section 3. Paths to the Same Summit, the Universal Mountain.
This brings us directly to the core argument of our explainer. Imagine a massive, towering mountain. At the very top, shrouded in clouds, is the single, undivided truth, the absolute reality, God. But humanity lives all the way down at the bottom, spread out across the massive circumference of the foothills. Because we are bound by entirely different cultures, different histories, different geographies, and different collective temperaments, our starting points at the foothills vary wildly. A person born in ancient India starts at a totally different point than someone born in medieval Europe or the Middle East. Therefore, the physical trails they carve up the mountain must logically look completely different at the beginning. They feature different theology, different rituals, different rules, and even different languages. But, and here's the profound Hindu argument, if you are genuinely climbing, if you are actively moving upward, every single one of those unique paths ultimately converges at the exact same infinite reality at the summit. Honestly, the only people not climbing are the ones running around the bottom of the mountain, fighting with each other about which trail is the best.
Far from seeing other religions as competing truths or, worse, dangerous falsehoods to be eradicated, Hinduism views them as beautiful, absolutely necessary varieties. They are simply different languages through which the exact same ultimate reality reaches the human heart. Hinduism asks a very practical question. Isn't life vastly more interesting because we have the deeply distinct, rich contributions of Christians, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, and others? The sources tell us that a single, antiseptically safe, exclusive path would just be boring. Instead, God actually finds recreation in variety. The vibrant multiplicity of world religions is just another grand expression of Leela, that divine, joyful cosmic play we talked about earlier.
Section 4. One mystic, many religions, the human proof. Now, meet Sri Ramakrishna. He was a 19th century Hindu mystic who decided that abstract theory simply wasn't enough. He is deeply important to our understanding today because he didn't just sit back and preach religious tolerance as some nice, comforting philosophy. He actively, methodically, and successively practiced the major world religions to vigorously test the theory of the Universal Mountain Summit. He wanted experiential, undeniable human proof.
Consider the deliberate sequence of his remarkable spiritual journey. He completely immersed himself in entirely different traditions, one by one. First, he spent significant time seeking God exclusively through the person of Christ, wholly adopting Christian practices and devotions. Then, leaving that behind, he shifted his entire focus to Islam, faithfully following the imageless, fiercely God-directed teachings of the Quran. Then he moved fluidly through varied Hindu disciplines, passionately worshiping distinct God embodiments like Vishnu the Preserver and Shiva the Completer. He approached each unique path with absolute, unwavering devotion. He was essentially hiking up each distinct, totally separate side of the mountain, just to see exactly where the trail would lead him.
And here is what he found. The same God was revealed, now incarnate in Christ, now speaking through the Prophet Muhammad, now in the guise of Vishnu the Preserver or Shiva the Completer. Let those words really sink in for a moment. This was Ramakrishna's ultimate, verified realization after tirelessly walking all those incredibly diverse paths. His direct human experience perfectly validates the vast Hindu metaphysical argument we've been tracking today. He realized that the exact same God was waiting to be revealed at the end of every single sincere path.
These incredibly diverse incarnations, these distinct prophets and saviors, are simply the single absolute divine reality, that one unified ocean of truth presenting itself in beautifully different ways to perfectly match the distinct needs of different seekers. The paths are many, the illusions of Maya make them look separate, but the summit is eternally one.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, lingering thought to ponder. If we genuinely accept this profound idea, that despite our drastically different starting points at the cultural foothills of the world, the ultimate summit is shared by all genuine seekers, how does that change the way you interact with the world? How does it change the way you look at a neighbor who worships differently than you do? We really hope this explainer has sparked a deeper, quieter curiosity in you about how recognizing that shared summit might completely transform our understanding of the diverse, winding trails all around us. Keep learning, keep climbing, and thank you so much for exploring with us today.